Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you as we gather here today on the 4th of April 2025 to celebrate knowledge, legacy, and inspiration at the late Shri C.J. Bhumkar Memorial Lecture. I am Chitra Narayanan, and it is my immense privilege to be your host for this evening. A night where we honor the past, embrace the present, and envision a vibrant future. So, let us embark on this journey together with enthusiasm and reverence. To set the stage for this remarkable evening, may I request our esteemed committee members, Mr. Shivaji Durgavle, Mr. Dilip Patil, and Mr. Sanket Shinde, to kindly escort our distinguished dignitaries to the dais. Mr. Bhushan Pradhan, General Manager Technology at Asian Paints, and Professor Anagha Sabnis, Head of Department Polymer and Surface Engineering at ICT Mumbai. Let us welcome them with a huge round of applause as they grace us with their presence. Now, let's begin with a gesture of honor and admiration. I request Mr. Shivaji Durgavle, our Honorable President of the Color Society, to step forward and present a bouquet of flowers to today's esteemed guest speaker, Mr. Bhushan Pradhan. His insights into evolving world of technology in the paint promise to enlighten us all. A warm round of applause for Mr. Pradhan, please. Next, I invite Mr. Dilip Patil, our Honorable Treasurer, to extend a bouquet of flowers to Professor Anagha Sabnis, Head of Polymer and Surface Engineering, ICT. Let's celebrate her presence with a resounding applause. And now, a special welcome to the pillar of strength and legacy. I invite Mr. Sanket Shinde, our Honorable Joint Secretary, to present a bouquet of flowers to Ms. Priya Bhumkar, Managing Director of Saujanya Color. Her presence today connects us to the enduring spirit of late Shri C.J. Bhumkar. Please join me in applauding her warmly. We now move to a moment of pride and recognition. I request Mr. Shivaji Durgavle, our Honorable President, to felicitate Dr. Anagha Sabnis with a shawl and shrifal, marking her remarkable achievement as the newly appointed Head of Department of Polymer and Surface Engineering at ICT Mumbai. Dr. Sabnis, your leadership lights the way forward. Let us honor her with a hearty round of applause. Well, to set the tone for this evening, I now request Mr. Shivaji Durgavle, Honorable President of the Color Society, to deliver the welcome address. His words will weave together the purpose and promise of this gathering. Over to you, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Again, good evening, everyone. Warm welcome today's guest speaker, Mr. Bhushan Pradhan, General Manager Technology, Asian Paints Limited, Professor Anaga Sabnis, HOD Polymer and Surface Engineering, ICT Mumbai, Ms. Priya Bhumkar, MD Saujanya Color, past President of the Color Society, members, teachers, students, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I will thank Mr. Bhushan Pradhan for accepting our invitation to be here as a guest speaker. And once again, congratulations to Professor Anaga Sabnis, being the HOD of the Polymer and Surface Engineering ICT Mumbai. I think this is the first lady of the PPV. Now it is a Polymer and Surface Engineering ICT Mumbai. So once again, congratulations, Professor Anaga. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all to the late Shri C.J. Bhumkar Memorial Lecture, organized annually by the Color Society on his birth anniversary. This tradition, which began in 2010 as a testament to his enduring legacy in the paint and coating industries. Shri C.J. Bhumkar was a visionary leader, a brilliant technocrat, and a mentor to his many. His contribution to the industry, from his remarkable tenure at Asian Paints to establishing Saujanya Colors Private Limited, continue to inspire us all. His dedication to technology, innovations, and excellence set a benchmark in our field. Today, we also acknowledge the commendable efforts of his family, Ms. Priya Bhumkar and his grandson, Jashan, in expanding Saujanya Colors globally and taking the company to the new heights. This memorial lecture is a platform where industry leaders, academicians, and students come together to discuss the evolving landscape of the paint and coating industries. Last year, we had the privilege of hosting Professor R.D. Kulkarni, Vice Chancellor of the University of Mumbai, who shared his vision on universities and higher education institute at 2047. That is vision and roadmap for the next 25 years. And last year there was 3 vice chancellor during this late Sri C.J. Bhumkar Memorial. So it was that was the very great achievement for the Color Society and for all of us. This year we are delighted to welcome Mr. Bhushan Pradhan, General Manager, Technology Asian Paints, as our esteemed guest speaker. He will be sharing his knowledge and insight on changing landscape in the Indian paint industry, a technology perspective and challenges. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the dignitaries, past presidents, members of the Color Society, ICT faculty, students, paint manufacturers, raw material supplier and professionals from the coating industry for being here today. Your presence makes this event truly special. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. As we gather in the memory of late Shri C.J. Bhumkar, a luminary whose legacy continues to inspire, I invite anyone from our esteemed audience to share a cherished memory or reflection about him. Your words will paint a vivid picture of his impact. Please feel free to come forward.
Good evening, friends. First of all, congratulations to Anaga. I didn't know that you have become HOD. At least we would have brought some bouquet for her, no, Maku? And I welcome Bhushan. You have, na? Yeah. Friends, I am here to speak about Mr. Bhumkar now. See, probably younger generation, they may be interested regarding Mr. Bhumkar. My generation has met him, seen him. So, what's special about Mr. C.J. Bhumkar? One of them is, you must have seen his photograph. Extraordinary personality. He had a tremendous personality. And he was a technocrat par excellence, I can tell you. These two qualities, differentiates him from the other great people. But at that age also, I will tell you that Color Society, we used to have monthly meetings. Then N.R. Kamath Memorial Lecture, C.J. Bhumkar. That time C.J. Bhumkar, of course, was not there lecture. But he used to attend all the Color Society lectures. He has done tremendous amount of work for Color Society, right from the ordinary member to a committee member. He was a president also. And most important thing, friends, I want to tell you about him is, at that age also, he used to sit here and used to take down the notes. When the lecture was going on for the Color Society, he used to take down notes. So that kind of interest was there as a technologist for him. Do you remember that time, the sitting arrangement was not like this. It used to be a benches, like a folding desk used to be there. So that desk used to encourage all of us to write something, Today we are not encouraging that because now the technology has moved forward. Then the second best quality I remember about C.J. Bhumkar, and majority of my colleagues also must be remembering, probably one of the best chairman, seminar chairman. He used to be fantastic, means one cannot forget him. If he is a session chairman, all the delegates would like to attend him because the way he used to conduct that session, one of the best way, wonderful way. And used to carry that. See, we have learned from him actually how to carry a session in a seminar without hurting anybody, keeping everybody live. And majority of the times I used to request him that Bhumkar Sahib, your session should be the session which is after lunch. Because generally after lunch is the most difficult session. And C.J. Bhumkar will keep everybody alive, without doubt. And then this Bhushan Pradhan, see, the youngsters used to give lecture, and there were always people in any conference, he would like to ask some tricky questions to the youngsters. But Bhumkar used to handle that so well. He used to reply those questions as if he represents that company. Okay. And if he does not know, the way he used to handle the situation, it used to carry that seminar in a nice way. That's why I feel, these 2-3 qualities of Mr. C.J. Bhumkar, the student should always remember that. And we always say about anybody, friend, philosopher and guide. So C.J. Bhumkar, ideal friend, philosopher and guide. Because once you talk to him in a seminar, you feel that he is our friend. At the time of seminar and session chairman, you come to know that he is a philosopher. And when you want to change the job those days, he was a guide that time. Thank you, all of you.
Anybody else would like to say a few words? Thank you, sir, for the memory. It is truly cherishable. Continuing this heartfelt tribute, I now request Ms. Priya Bhumkar to share a few memories of her beloved father. Ms. Bhumkar, your words will bring his spirit alive among us. The stage is yours. Please welcome her with a warm round of applause.
Thank you so much. Indeed, it's an annual honor to be present here as a part of this evening. And I think I'm always overwhelmed to see, it's been 15 years since Mr. Bhumkar passed away. This is probably barring COVID times, maybe 1 or 2 years. It's probably the 13th or the 14th lecture that we are having. And it never ceases to amaze me, the warmth that people still carry in their minds and in their hearts about my father-in-law. This actually, really means that he had an impact on people. And I think it would be safe to say that anybody who met him even once can never forget him. And that is because he touched people's hearts, he touched people's lives. He was really a people's person, absolutely warm, and just the connect, the people's connect, because he was truly interested in the other person. And whatever, even if you have a 5-minute interaction with him in a conference, I'm sure nobody ever forgot him. And that was the magic of his persona, and I think that is what makes him even today feel that, even we feel, because of the way that the industry, in the family, the way that the industry still remembers him, and everyone talks about him like he's just still there, or he was just there with us till recently. So we don't feel that 15-year, the time difference, which has passed away. Truly, he's alive among us, because he's alive with all the people in the industry, and that really, really means a lot to us. So thank you so much for honoring his memory every year, and for doing this, with, deep respect and love in your hearts for him. Coming to today's speaker, I think Bhushanji, today's the topic that you are going to talk about is absolutely up Mr. Bhumkar's alley, because he was a true innovator, always in the quest of something new and the change and what is coming up next. I can tell you that this is an absolutely beautiful topic you have chosen in his memory, and he would be so, delighted. And this is, he would truly feel honored with the topic that you have chosen. It's absolutely an appropriate, ode that you are going to pay to his memory. And the other thing, of course, is that from his karma bhumi, you're from Asian Paints, so that is like a circle which is complete with UDCT and Asian Paints here again. So that also means a lot, and from his, where he spent all his years. And Dr. Samant talked about the knowledge bit. So one memory I'd like to share is, even until he passed away when he was 74 years old, even until he was a very disciplined person. So time, and I didn't know him at that time, but my husband and our family tells me, even when they were children, they had a home, which was a family home. It was a big joint family, a ground floor and first floor. So to the time you can set your clock. So barobar, if it is 9 p.m., if he's supposed to descend down for dinner, he would come from Asian Paints. He would be in his room, with full AC on, and he would be reading. He was studying a lot every single day. He was a person in pursuit of excellence and a person in pursuit of knowledge. That is what excited him the most. He would be reading, and sharp at 9, you could hear his slippers down the staircase, in the house. And people knew it is sharp 9 o'clock. This I didn't see, but I have heard. And so, but what I saw later when I married and came into the family, and he was precisely that. 9 a.m. he would enter the office. 1:30 p.m. he would come home for lunch. 2:30 la he would have, he was very fond of tea. Chaha त्यांना खूप आवडत असत. So he would, and he's always in a hurry, because in the morning he spent time in the office, and in the afternoon he used to visit our factories, which are all in Navi Mumbai area. So he would come home for lunch, because he was much older by that time, and he would eat lunch and then rest for about 20 minutes. 2:30 sharp, he must have his cup of tea, on the dining table. And because he's in a hurry, he would drink it from the saucer, like the old time. And then he would be off to the factory, all 2 or 3 factories, whatever were there. He would be home by 5:30, go for his walk at precisely the absolute disciplinarian person. Lot to learn from that. And then go for a walk, do his routine, come back, watch the 7 o'clock news on television at that time. And 7:30 sharp, he would sit to study again till the last day of his life. And by that time, technology had changed so much that we have still in our office, in our factory, we have dedicated a big room to his memory, where we have kept all his books, all the literature that he ever collected. We call it the C.J. Bhumkar Library. You are very welcome to come and see his collection of, all the materials, the literature. We haven't given up a single thing, and in fact, we always wanted to have a room which was dedicated to his quest and love for knowledge. So we still have that in our plant and office. And he would sit to read until again 9. So every single day. And after reading, by the time technology had evolved, there would be a lot of webinars going on. The digital age had come in. At that age of around 73, 74, he would put the headphones, sit on the computer, and listen to webinars till that time. So this is his real love for learning. And I think that is why he was able to, answer any queries on behalf of anybody. Absolutely anybody in the industry wanted an answer to anything. And he would pull it out like, a rabbit out of a hat. That was the magic of his, deep knowledge on the subject. So we remember him for that. And thank you very much. It would be very nice to hear you, Bhushanji, and look forward. And thank you very much again for honoring him so well and with so much emotion. Really overwhelming for us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing his wonderful memories with us. Next, I invite Dr. Anagha Sabnis, Head of Polymer and Surface Engineering at ICT Mumbai, to address us. Ma'am, your journey and vision inspire the next generation. Please enlighten us with your thoughts. The stage is yours.
Good evening to all, and thank you Color Society and Dr. Prashant for the welcome. As you asked me, I said it is also a surprise to me. So when she told me that I have to speak, I don't know, because being a teacher, we are prescribed to the syllabus that we have to teach, and that only we talk. But when it is suddenly a request to talk, it's little difficult for me, to be very honest. So the association of our department, then PPV, when I was a student, it was PPV. So the association of our department with Color Society is long back. When we were student, I still remember we used to sit at the back and listen to the lectures which Color Society used to arrange. So I expect and I request Mr. Shivaji that this association of Color Society and department goes for a longer period and we together have a longer journey successfully. And I wish all the success to the Color Society. Regarding the thoughts, basically we want to have more interaction of our students to the industry, and for that we need the support from the industry, the partners which are there or the members which are there in the Color Society. We would like to have some lectures or some interactions with the students so that they get the details of what industry is practically doing, because here they are into theory and we expect the members of Color Society to have or cooperation from them for our students category. So with that, I think I would not take more time and ask Mr. Bhushan to start his lecture. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, ma'am, for that enlightening words. And now, the moment we have all been eagerly awaiting, I request Mr. Dilip Patil, our Honorable Treasurer, to introduce today's guest speaker, Mr. Bhushan Pradhan. Sir, your introduction will set the stage for a transformative lecture. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Bhushan Pradhan. Mr. Bhushan Pradhan is an ICT alumnus and graduated as a paint technologist in 1991 with Inner City Gold Medal. He was honored as a Best Student of the Year when Professor M.M. Sharma was the director. He has 34 years of R&D experience, including 29 years at Asian Paint and 5 years with Sherwin-Williams Paints India. His international role including leading Asian Paints R&D in Fiji and Philippines. He has worked in various formulation areas including chemical resistant paint, industrial paints, marine paint and automotive paint. He was in charge of standardizing the PPG's fourth and fifth generation cathodic electrocoat in India. Currently, Mr. Pradhan serves as a general manager of technology at Asian Paint, overseeing multiple portfolios and acting as the global technical head for overseas unit. He completed his Master of Art in Innovation and Change Management from York St. John University, UK, and postgraduate diploma in leadership from the Emeritus Institute, Singapore. Bhushan loves his fitness and works for long hours in the gym. He walks over 3,000 kilometers annually. He enjoys action movies and traveling with his family to different destinations across India and the world. Mr. Bhushan Pradhan will speak on very important topic, that is changing landscape in India, Indian paint industry at a technology perspective and challenges. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Bhushan Pradhan. Bhushan Pradhan, please.
Yeah, good evening all. Yeah, Ms. Priya mentioned that she was overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed too. This room has got totally different memories. One is as a student, when of course the seating arrangement was not so modern. But that's where most of the lectures early in the morning used to happen. And then this particular gathering, I think every lecture at ICT and Color Society, I think this is my third time that I'm standing on this dais out here. There's a weird cultural touch to it. Some of the etiquettes of a lecture, they are followed still very nicely. I think the gathering set its momentum very, very nicely. So good to catch up with old faces. And a CJ Bhumkar Memorial Lecture. This is something that I could just not miss. So, Honorable President, Secretary and Office Bearers of the Color Society, teaching staff, students and faculty of this wonderful institute, ICT, members of the Bhumkar family, senior industry colleagues, well-wishers and friends. It is with deep honor and pride that I stand in front of you to commemorate a personality, Mr. CJ Bhumkar. It did not take me even 15 seconds to accepting to delivering this particular lecture in his honor. I have always wanted to do so for the last several years, and this is the moment that I was looking out for. When I joined Asian Paints R&D in 1991, a lot of senior chemists around me started telling me stories about Mr. Bhumkar and his oratory skills and his technical prowess. He had a rare distinction at that time of migrating into the board of Asian Paints. Very, very rare distinction for a family-driven company and somebody outsider getting into the board as far as Asian Paints is concerned. Now, hearing these stories, it left a very indelible mark on me that this is a personality and this is the man to emulate. And he was something whom I was looking up to. Yeah, he turned out to be a hero and a silent hero whom I was trying to emulate. I first met him only in the year somewhere around 2008. and that was in context of the next company that I was working at when they were the colorant suppliers. And I think a simple, brief conversation followed by lunch told me everything about what this personality was. A tremendous depth on the topic, being very precise about what he was talking. And you call it customer centricity, you call it etiquettes of behavior, everything he was portrayed and personified. And that was a day of accomplishment for me. And I really want to thank the Color Society for keeping this on in terms of, what this personality is all about and keeping the torch alive within all of us. I thought about this topic actually keeping Mr. Bhumkar in mind and thinking as to what would he have wanted to listen from his junior had he been sitting, in the first row today. And you spoke about it, Priya, and I don't know whether you... Yeah, and I was thinking that what is it that this person would want to hear? And he was so much about technology, he was so much about length and breadth, that I thought that I will cover this particular topic today, and he would love to listen to this. Now, mind you, the views expressed are my views. It's been about 34 years in R&D, 34 years in the paint industry only. So these should not be construed as views of my company, and you should not mix it up. It's my personal tribute to Mr. Bhumkar, and most of the views expressed here are my personal views. So let me give you a little bit heads up onto what happened decade-wise, the way I witnessed. This is not taken from any book, periodical. I thought, where should I begin? And I thought the best place to begin is here, the way I witnessed. So we witnessed the famous economic liberalization policy announced by the then Finance Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh. And we witnessed a lot of foreign investments almost immediately. And the paint industry saw a lot of collaboration with players like Nippon, Sigma, PPG, Kurtolds, Chogoku, just to name a few. Several international brands started manufacturing in that particular decade, which of course included Suzuki, but joined very quickly by Daewoo, General Motors, Hyundai, Ford, Whirlpool. They used to consume a lot of powder coating, Videocon, Eicher Motors, New Holland Tractors, John Deere, Mark Auto. You just keep on naming them, and these players certainly started demanding certain standards of paint and coatings. So it saw a lot of development as far as paint and coatings is concerned. The decorative side of the market was still running predominantly on distempers, and there was a distinct attempt to migrate customers from distemper into the first level plastic emulsion paints. This was also the year and decade in which a first formal launch of a premium exterior emulsion happened in Kerala from Asian Paints, and then, a lot of other players followed as far as that suit is concerned. During the decade 2000 to 2010, we saw a lot of themes beginning to emerge in coatings. So some people took the position of dirt pickup resistance, some people took up the position as far as stain resistance improvement is concerned for the interior. Possibly for the first time, we saw the advent of designer finishes, through some of the Italian collaborations. Ad campaign took over a lot. Painting services were formalized. Tinting machines were on the rise. There was also this entry of big giant called Sherwin-Williams, which had taken over a company called Nitco. And they tried to market paint in a very different way by introduction of the stores model as far as marketing paint is concerned. And they had set up 5 company-owned stores in Bangalore to begin with. The epoxy electrocoats, which the automotive revolutionized, had migrated into something like acrylic electrocoats. And that was a game changer because a lot of small cathodic electrocoat tanks started coming into picture with the size of 100, 125 liters. And some articles, beyond automotives like jewelry also started getting painted with something like acrylic electrocoats. In the decade 2010 to 2020, social media campaign intensified. A lot of Italian brands for wood started entering into the picture. So there was an entry of Ica, Sirca, Cupsa, Capsi, Renner, etc. A lot of tools and implements were formalized because at that time, paint used to be sold as a commodity. Nobody bothered about tools. Nobody bothered about brushes. Nobody bothered about rollers. And I remember a call that Mr. Ashwindani gave me once when I was in R&D that he had bought certain brushes from Worcester of USA. And he said that nobody is touching those brushes. Why don't you take these brushes and apply some of the products on the wall and see what does a tool do to a paint. The result was absolutely phenomenal. While we would do all the rheology improvement in paints, I think the brushes and the different quality of brushes saw a very different application as far as paint on the wall is concerned, and the finishes were looking so different. That's the power of vision when one says about vision in terms of somebody thinking about something which the industry is not thinking about. So that formalized the use of actually brushes, a lot of collaborations happened. Yes. And even the power-driven mixers started, seeing introduction through formal offerings from paint suppliers. Waterproofing as a category started getting focus. There was introduction of a lot of injection grouting, crystalline technology, lots of products during this particular decade, and people took specific themes. I remember the ad campaign that Nerolac was running at that time, and that was featuring Shah Rukh Khan on low VOC paints, and there was a lot of bombardment during that time, so there was distinct theme of low VOC, promoting low VOC. There were certain other players, who had introduced products for odor absorption, domestic odor absorption, health and hygiene, a lot of rust protection as far as enamel is concerned. We were also witnessing some of the advent of high rises, Maiwan construction took over, and there was also some introduction of precast concrete. Now the question to ask is, what happened to all these themes? The low VOC campaign or the odor absorption or the health and hygiene, where did these disappear? And I'll just stitch it up towards the end part of my lecture as to what have we been as an industry been a victim of when it comes to innovations. Innovations for the consumer, why did not really take off? And why is it that paint continued to get sold as bulk through various dealer incentivization? The decade 2020 to 2030 has been really a game changer. And I think this is something that we all of us must look up to. It did not begin very well. There was this COVID pandemic which took over, and survival of businesses was virtually under question at that time. A lot of downsizing started happening, and people started wondering as to how are they going to be into business. So some players migrated immediately as an answer into manufacture of sanitizers, some of the health and hygiene products, but that was not really their cup of tea. That was not the channel which the paint industry was used to. But India witnessed an infrastructure boom with the 4th largest rail network, the 2nd largest highway network in the world, launch of Vande Bharats getting announced. There was also an announcement of bullet trains, lot of civil aviation airports getting upgraded at that time, calling in for very different needs of paints, upgradation of telecommunications, bio-toilets, smart cities, mission, Swachh Bharat campaign. Now, all this is a very, very interesting phase, and this is where the landscape change comes in as far as paint and coatings is concerned. There was a recent Union Economic Survey, which is published in November 2024, and that has estimated India's GDP growth at 6.4% in 2025. And there has been an empirical evidence, not a direct formula per se, an empirical evidence that paint growth has been in relationship to GDP as 1.5 to something like 2%, 1.5 to 2 times that of GDP. And that's how it has been historically. It also mentions that from being the 10th largest economy in 2014, India has made distinct strides, and today it is set, and it is absolutely certain that India will emerge as the 3rd largest economy in the world after US and China. And this is set to happen by 2030. But there are two very interesting riders which all of us have been dealing with in the industry, and it's not written specifically to paint, but we need to take these critical bullets on board. India faces limitations in producing critical goods at scale and quality required to serve the infrastructure and investment needs of an aspiring economy. Bullet number 2, import dependency in several raw materials exposes India to potential supply chain disruptions, price fluctuations, and currency crisis. This is something that the paint industry has been a victim of for I don't know how much of cycles all the time, wherein some import duty is getting imposed, poses a surprise. It does not get passed on to the customers. It puts added strain as far as paint pricing is concerned. And there is something which keeps happening all the time. There is something which has happened all the time, including something like yesterday or day before yesterday about something like the Trump tariff. And then various industries putting their hats on that, how does it impact us, especially for people who are exporting. Lot of things keep happening, and there is a point that I'm trying to make, that unless until we do something drastic out here, paint is going to be a commodity as far as strain is concerned. It's going to all the time be under strain and all the time be under cost pressures. On the backdrop of this, something beautiful has happened in the decade. Okay, we've seen entry of so many big players, which includes something like Birla Opus, Astral Paints, Indigo, Aisha, Kamdhenu Paints, JSW, Sheen Lac, JK Max. It's absolutely been a welcome as far as the paint industry is concerned, because it completely strengthens the paint industry, quite unlike it being dominated earlier by 3-4 players and a large small scale sector. This actually strengthens and make the paint industry foothold very strong. And some of the commitments in terms of expenditures have been very serious. I think we have seen them coming to fore. We are seeing changes as far as the industry is set to make with the advent of these particular players. I have deliberately put the icon of Indian small scale industries twice in both the quadrants. I think the small scale industry has been contributing very excellently to the paint industry. And I have been firm believer of the fact that even the next 2 decades, the small scale industry will have a distinct place, because I have always believed that maximum innovation happens with small scale industries. The innovation is quick, the innovation is rapid, the innovation can be implemented quickly, the innovation can be taken stock of very quickly, you can change course. That happens only with the small scale. With larger players, there's that much more difficulty of implementing this innovation. Let's see the scenario as far as some diversification which happened. Now, the entry of these players also evoked a lot of cross strategies. So people started getting into each other's territories. So paint started to entering into waterproofing, adhesives. Some of the adhesive players started getting entry into paints. Now this crisscross thing doesn't work, okay, because when you leave your core competence and get into somebody else's territory, it doesn't really work. And even the history and evidence will suggest that it hasn't really taken off. But in a stiff competitive environment, strategies started shifting from share of surface to something like share of space, meaning entry into flooring, upholstery, kitchens, bath fittings, furniture, rugs. Exterior surfaces started getting replaced by aluminum claddings and glass. Dealer incentivization soared, creating intense raw material cost pressures. Back-end and ATL spend started increasing. Specialized domains of waterproofing, admixture, floor coatings, coatings for railways, adhesives started taking precedence. The scenario of demand pull strain therefore continues and calls for a shift in strategy. Current strategies have been towards penetration. India has always been spoken about being a very large kind of a setup in which penetration of paint product is something which people have been exploiting, and therefore the strategies have been to strengthen distribution, excel in forecasting, knowing beforehand as to what is the dealer going to purchase, managing inventories, constant cost reduction to sustain margins, and increase in manufacturing automation, manufacturing efficiency through automation. Sometimes automation makes manufacturing units so efficient that something that you have to do in 30 days, you finish it flat in 21 days. Okay, and then you worry as to how are you going to keep your production engaged for the rest 8 to 9 days. Emerging strategies are going to call in for the domain of specialty coatings, strengthening reach across segments, excelling in owning the customer and the needs, expanding and acquiring and managing human talent, building partnerships using local competence and keep strengthening them. I make a key point out here that somehow the local partnerships always get overridden by goods and raw materials that are manufactured from abroad. We might not hit it first time right, but do we have the ability to partner? Do we have the ability to partner the tolerances? Do we have the ability to take iterations, but partner so strongly that it really becomes a force to reckon with, not really keeping on importing raw materials to assemble a product? Industrial section in paints and coatings has always challenged technology and pushed technical people to innovate at cost. Our changing landscape is no exception, and with the growth infra that we have seen, a lot of attention on some of the core sectors such as railways, road marking, floor coatings, powder coatings, concrete admixtures. Some of these technologies have evolved now to international standards to the befitting infra and are shifting paradigm. Very basic aspects on admixtures were taught in college syllabus at that time, and today we have almost come to a point in which I wanted to make a point to the Vice Chancellor is not here, that with the several disciplines that we have, has the need come to introduce concrete technology as a full-fledged course in the institute. Because a lot of it was paints, pigments and varnishes. And a lot of concrete admixtures, which I'll speak about, is about chemistry. But some aspects are taught only in the civil engineering colleges, but not to a tune of the depth in which they are expected to right now, especially because of the growing industry. So let's take coatings for railways, and this has been a shift, guys, absolutely a shift. It's estimated to grow to something like 350 crores. There is strong push for Make in India now. The people who are negotiating specifications are different set of people, and they are talking a lot about passenger and goods transportation as far as leadership is concerned. Constant technology trends onboarded are improved service life, high durability, weathering performance, abrasion, chipping resistance, chemical corrosion resistance. They're actively looking out for self-cleaning, antimicrobial kind of coatings, anti-graffiti kind of coatings. And I've got some distinct memories out here. Some way back, I had attended the Matunga, the rail yard. And I was summoned at that time. I did represent the company. And there was a German delegation. And they would say that, look, in Germany, we paint coaches, and we don't repaint them for something like about 18 years. We just about clean them. And a lot of things were spoken at that time, but it all settled with only use of enamel to IS 2932. There was an attempt, to introduce epoxy polyurethane system. Some rail coaches started getting painted, with epoxy polyurethane system, but somehow, even after 3 months, the coaches would not look good, in spite of shifting from enamel to epoxy polyurethane system. But today, these are the people who are looking evidences as far as what technology can do. They are speaking about sound dampening coatings. They are speaking about anti-graffiti coatings. And in these slides, I have just tried to picturize what are the special coating needs which have shifted from normal rail coaches to Vande Bharats as well as for bullet trains. They are all going to challenge paint technologies for the simple reason because in India, whenever you develop a technology, it is not a copybook technology. You have to always innovate at cost. Okay, and sectors like railways, they squeeze the cost out of you. So if you say that, look, the selling price of my product is something exceptional, that's not the way it is accepted, and that puts added strain onto chemists to develop technologies like this. Or even the rail infra, like for example, the bridges, or in fact the tunnels, the needs are different, and they are speaking about completely different coatings. They are in negotiation all the time. Somebody who can demonstrate an evidence of this is the one whom they are willing to try out. So railways becomes one of the very critical sector as far as changing landscape of coatings is concerned, from mere enamels to epoxy polyurethanes to these sophisticated coatings. And if they are delivered, our trains are going to look different. They are giving no option. They are wanting all this to be made in India, to be procured in India, and they are wanting to very strongly advertise these kind of coating systems for needs of the railways. The next area that I thought very important was India has the second largest road network, which amounts to virtually about 66 lakh kilometers. And our highways are beginning to look very different now. I think every now and then you would see announcements from the leadership of Mr. Nitin Gadkari, and the way the highways are getting modernized, it is also putting needs onto coatings. So be it a national highway, state highway, which earlier used to be merely a painted enamel kind of thing on the side just for basic safety. Now it is speaking about very different things with the infrastructure as far as road is concerned, which is growing. So the needs of the coating here are ability to dry quickly, high durability, high retroreflectivity for airport. I remember at one point in time, Roman has used to pioneer that particular technology with their Fast Track brand, which used to be used for airport markings with retroreflective beads so that, there is reflection and the pilot can see that. Now some of these technologies are getting very, very universal, very popular with a lot of companies trying to offer it. But this is the need. Even the highways, the way they look, the equipment which has, now taken over, some of these equipments earlier used to get seen in Australia, wherein some of these equipments for line marking could paint something like about 40, 50 kilometers per hour at a constant speed, and paints and coatings were expected to deliver this. So different type of highways have got different needs. When it's national highways, is still something like the hot melt thermoplastic which is getting used, and conventional water-based, solvent-based, they are all now to different specifications, and they are being demanded to testing and performing for the durability that they are wanted. Some of the emerging technologies out here are also seeing the light of the day, which is the PMMA kind of a technology, as well as something like the preformed thermoplastic. Now these, when you go abroad, you see them very commonly, either in terms of pavement marking or in terms of safety signages. These have now begun to see in some pockets of India. They have got their own challenges as far as application is concerned, because some of the PMMA technologies and all, they dry very fast. And in Indian climatic conditions where they are very, very difficult to implement, but nevertheless, these are some of the preferred technologies which one can look up to. Now imagine if the highways are getting modernized, it is but natural and a matter of time that even the pavements are likely to get modernized, and India will see a very different kind of safety standards evolving over a period of time. Floor coatings is one area which is seen now attention, and people have started taking floor coatings in stride. Earlier floor coating, I don't know, used to be something like just a concrete layout, just something like flat. But now, thanks to collaborations that the market is set to grow to virtually about 5,000 crores by 2030, there has been strong recognition of the need here, and the needs for automotive, defense, electronic, airports, hangars for floor coatings, or including residential, commercial buildings for the use of something like, the driveway coatings, is now becoming a norm in most of the societies, in most of the driveways. And a lot of technologies here have been of the epoxy types, polyurethane self-leveling types, cementitious types, and they are all applied at different film thicknesses to have a good balance of cost and service life. Emerging technologies here are the polyurethane interpenetrating network type. A lot of polyaspartic coatings are also being promoted, and the use of course, the PMMA type that I discussed. So floor coatings is another one which is changing game as far as India is concerned. I think powder coating is one technology, one domain that I have seen emerge as formidable, very eco-friendly technology. Way back in 1991, one used to see a powder coated panel. It used to be full of high thickness, lot of orange peel, and most of it used to be TGIC based. But today, most of limitations have been totally conquered in terms of having all those limitations of orange peel or the low first pass rate. We are now seeing robotic spray and AI for efficiency, a range of colors and textures including metallic finishes, low bake, UV curable, zero wastages have been a dream landscape change as far as technology is concerned. The organized sector is again set to grow to something like 5,000 crores from 3,000 crores, but mind you, this technology has always been so penetrated that it's very difficult to estimate as to what is the small player really supplying powders and what is the quantity that they are supplying. I think way back in 1997, I remember that there was a workshop organized out here, and it was being convened by Mr. Dani, myself, and Professor Malche, and Mr. V.S. Bakre from Hardcastle and Ward. And it was on powder coatings and advances in waterborne coatings. And you'll be surprised the amount of powder coating people who turned up, be it either dealers or job coaters. There were far too many. And I think when we circulated the invite, that invite itself went into something like 200, 220 people, just powdered job coaters as far as Mumbai or something like Maharashtra is concerned. This was one technology which has definitely grown and has made a lot of strides. Concrete admixture, and since ma'am, I was also talking about it being considered as one of the discipline as far as knowledge giving and structured knowledge is considered, is one domain which cannot be overlooked. For one reason is with growing infrastructure, admixtures have become a need, acute need, and the second is again the market is set to grow to 4,500 crores. It's a very small element which gets added for the modification of concrete. especially any concrete which is getting used anywhere, be it residential, be it again industrial, wherever, be it road infrastructure. And this technology has now evolved so beautifully to include something like plasticizers, super plasticizers, accelerators, retarders, air entraining agents. This technology has evolved quite a lot. From simple pozzolana to something like use of ready-mix concrete, now this technology is about polycarboxylate ether PCE with distinct advantages over lignosulfonates and naphthalene sulfonate based plasticizers. And PCE is one such molecule which is the most expensive element as far as the use of concrete admixtures is concerned. And India, because of the need of all these concrete admixtures, still continues to import significant quantities of PCE into the country. But I want to make a point out here. And this is something where, real entrepreneurship sort of comes into picture, because making a PCE molecule, there are some distinct players who have taken an advantage, especially these are Maharashtra based and Gujarat based, about making PCE. Because otherwise, if you keep importing PCE, this particular entire sector is so margin agnostic that you cannot survive out there. So people have started making PCs. Some of these particular entrepreneurs have saw the wisdom in terms of making PC early so that the prices of admixtures can come down. And this sets the tone for the next kind of a section that I would want to speak on when it comes to India paint. Okay. We've all known that raw material cost, as far as paint costing is concerned, constitutes anywhere between something like 50 to 60, 65%, and it can vary. And most of this raw material costs are imports. So remember, paint is always expensive to produce because it's raw material intensive. It is inventory intensive. And if you actually benchmark some of the selling price of a latex across the world, India will emerge out to be the cheapest as far as latex paint is concerned. The selling price of a latex is cheapest with a lot of strain on import of raw materials. Look at this particular conundrum, the raw material leadership hubs. Most of these are something that me and you use daily. Iron oxide pigments, titanium dioxide, butyl acrylate monomer, methyl methacrylate monomer, methacrylic acid, styrene, silicones, vinyl acetate, redispersible polymers, polyurethane dispersion. We all play with that. We all play with all these kinds of chemicals when we try and formulate the paint. But remember, the largest producers of all this, India happens to be not there anywhere. And some small strides have happened. I think way back I used to evaluate titanium dioxide from KMML, but that exactly remained the way it was. And this is way back in 1990, when I used to take a lot of pride in terms of evaluating an Indian titanium dioxide, but it never saw the growth that one would have expected it to see. And butyl acrylate monomer is now, of course, being made for the last 3 years by BPCL. They ventured into it. They have successfully made it, but it is still lacking scale, and a lot of imports still continue. So the point that I'm trying to make is, as long as the largest producers of key raw materials are going to be from outside the country, it is going to be an import-dependent commodity, and it's going to be subjected to all the kind of price fluctuations and the margin strain which is going to create. This is something which is mind-boggling. I couldn't forget this. This was at the Kohinoor Continental Hotel. There was a privilege of Professor M.M. Sharma addressing the Color Society at that time. And some of the key points that he made have remained even today. Even after 6 years, we have not seen much change. And I think, I know Mr. Ashwandani, was keen to attend that. He couldn't because of his health, because everybody wants to listen to Professor Sharma, especially when he's speaking on coatings. And he made some very key points, and we don't see a change still. No styrene production in India. Threat of petroleum getting converted into petrochemicals. The assumption that petroleum products will be used for monomer making, they might be getting converted completely into petrochemicals. Questions on availability of key raw materials moving forward. Heavy dependency on titanium dioxide through imports. No EVA production has taken off, even though it is a cheaper route than acrylics. No local coating available for locally made light combat aircrafts, which can withstand from -50 to +50 degrees Celsius temperature fluctuations. No anti-dust proposition for interiors, and the focus has largely been on exterior. I mean, you saw that, people had taken some dirt pickup resistance positions in exterior. And only one company in the world makes pigments using rare earths. It's in China. China has the largest deposits of rare earths. And he felt that, it's a very sustainable technology. And why is it that this technology using rare earths is not taking shape? I had visited one CSIR lab at that time, and coincidentally Professor Sharma happened to be there. I think they had synthesized something like a Prussian blue pigment using a rare earth. And believe me, that Prussian blue, the way they showed, and the drawdown and the pigment, the way it looked so wonderful. Only thing, some of this particular research and competence, sometimes they need backing as far as sponsorship from the industry is concerned, and nobody was wanting to put that money to actually convert that kind of a technology from using a rare earth into something like Prussian blue. So these were some of his key bullets that he had made as far as the paint industry is concerned, and unfortunately they still remain. We have not seen significant solutions, and if these solutions don't come, the paint industry is going to be under strain, in the decades to come, however be the growth rate. Let's examine India's resource base. India is good in bagasse, possibly the largest producer of shellac. Excellent deposits of cardinal, castor oil, ilmenite, cotton linters, and then urea, rice bran, some of the rare earths, as well as cement. Now, unless until these opportunities as the resources that we have as India are converted into formidable technology solutions, we will not see the game changing. For example, bagasse has got an application in super hydrophobic coatings. Shellac, I think the entire French polish game, which is isopropyl alcohol based, could get converted into water based. There was one company which did try and produce a water based kind of a French polish, but it just didn't take off. It didn't have the smell of alcohol, which customers did not like. Cardinal, which is the applications as far as polymer composites is concerned, phenolic resins, castor oil, I think Alkids has definitely taken use of castor oil to a significant extent. They have also used it very innovatively. We still continue to export ilmenite from here and get it converted into titanium oxide back into the country. Urea again for construction chemicals, nanocapsules, rice bran for fatty acids, alkyds. Some of these technologies we need to be focusing on our resource strength to create raw materials which can benefit paint and coatings. So even if it calls in for certain shift in paradigms, certain shift in properties, we need to focus on our resources. Must give a comment out here as far as extenders is concerned, and I think extender industry, India of course has got a large, again, mining base from which extenders are derived, and lot of traditional extenders such as calcium carbonate, talc, silica, kaolins, barium sulfate have been used, but extender manufacturers in India have also innovated towards engineering extenders, trying to modify the particle shape, trying to modify the particle size, trying to grind it differently. A lot of options now exist, which is hollow ceramic microspheres, nano-size graphene-based extenders, self-healing extenders, cellulose and starch-based extenders. Must compliment the industry that they have done a good job out here in terms of constantly complementing the properties of paints, constantly innovating. And I think that's one job which is really remarkable of the Indian extender manufacturers, the way they have innovated. Some of the possibilities which remain to be exploited, and I think there are large, one or two players who also approached me of, using multifunctional additives now. And multifunctional additives, they say that why is it that you're using 2-3 different properties, 2-3 different additives for different properties, like anti-UV, antibacterial. They can all be, amalgamated into one, and we can help you make a nano additive by which all these properties can be one. You can reduce your inventory cost of raw materials, you can focus on better deliveries. Some of these particular manufacturers from the US are actually setting up capacities in India to make multifunctional additives. Nano-sized titanium dioxide, silicon dioxide, silver, zinc oxide, cerium oxide, copper oxide are all under investigation. Copper, of course, is very seriously looked at for antimicrobial, as well as for exterior, for algal growth, but then we are so white-centric market that anything got to do with copper discolors the white, which is not accepted in the industry, but it has got so many good properties. Nanopigments enhance color, vibrancy, UV resistance, dispersion efficiency, leading to higher durability, and these are not completely in use, again because of the cost pressures, because it prohibits us as far as changing the color spectrum that we need or possibly can exploit. Emerging themes for coatings are several, and these are not completely answered. Self-healing, self-cleaning, energy efficient coatings, antimicrobial, air purifying coatings, thermal insulation paints, fire resistant paints, metallic and pearl finishes for exterior facades, three-dimensional textures, color sensing paints, anti-slip floor coatings. A lot of, I think it's cited that almost about 42% of death of senior people happens in the country because of fall in the bathrooms. Okay, and we still don't have a solution by which, other than providing guards and handrails, you can provide a coating on the floor by which senior people can, really have their footing very strongly. It's not a small number of 42% deaths of senior people happening in bathrooms because of fall. And I think it is one such need of the coating, floor coatings, wherein if it innovates, I think it connects up again to a direct consumer need. Bird repellent exterior coatings, insect repellents, some of the companies have taken some positions out here, but bird repellent is something. I think pigeons, okay, pigeons happen to be a menace, and nobody has thought about pigeon repellent coatings. Now, it's not to kill pigeons, but can one have certain cyclodextrines? Can one have certain odor on account of which pigeons don't perch onto the surfaces and cause all those kind of, damages, or all those kind of dirt pickup things that we deal with? Can color conurbation be a theme of the future? And I think color conurbation is, India is a country which likes colors. So are there going to be cities and micro cities which are going to be painted in specific colors so that, it can look beautiful? So something like a Kerala, something like a Trivandrum, something like a Tamil Nadu, something like a Maharashtra can connote itself, with use of different colors, just like the way Jaipur at one point in time used to be called as a pink city. And everything in Jaipur that you see is pink, be it the stone, be it the coating which is used. And it just took a place for itself as pink city is concerned. Can such an evolution of color conurbation also take place? People have been striving to use and find solutions for coating for glass. I think films have done it wonderfully, but I think even exterior facade glass coating is something that people have been researching on. These are all the themes which, if the coatings industry is working, that is the one which is going to cause some connection as far as consumer is concerned. So innovation areas for the industry are going to include consumer driven innovation, import reduction of raw materials, backward integration. I don't mean by backward integration within the organization. I'm talking about backward integration within the industry, exploiting the raw material resource base of India. I think trying to partner with certain people who have got certain capabilities and competencies in that area, trusting them and building partnerships with them so as to, have cost and value proposition. Attempting global approvals on local formulations. It's impossible to make an automotive top coat in India because the kind of approvals that it needs, and therefore most of this automotive technology is either a PPG led or a Kansai led, because these people have been way ahead as far as approval of their coatings is concerned. I remember a few years back when Ford was talking about introduction of the FLTM specifications. Ford has a test called the Kalahari Desert Test, in which a car is painted. It's actually put in the Kalahari Desert for 3 years for just checking the gravelometer resistance of the paint. So these are very long approval cycles, and unless until we take distinct attempts to approve some of the local formulations, for global standards, we are again going to be dependent on technology from outside. India integrated raw material base, and the, I think, last one which is very, very critical is integrating expertise through a communion of academic institutions, research hubs, and industry with sharp outcomes. You often use academic institutes to delegate certain projects into certain areas which call in for depth, but the outcomes are not sharply defined. And what happens, and then these projects, they linger on for something like 2-3 years. And if they don't see any implementation, then they remain as academic projects. There is a need to really integrate this with sharp outcomes and create it more with the industry. There's so many students who study topics in a completely different way. They study it in a different way, but how is the integration taking place into implementation? And that's where, the dependence is more onto technologies available from abroad, more than, banking on each other's competence and building it up. Yeah, this is something which happened. I mean, don't try and read too much out here as to who's what, okay? But the paint industry is witnessing this right now. Okay, the 100,000 crores, the 120,000 crores, the future of the paint industry, the lot of, paint industry to look up to. Now I think the world has noticed it. Some of the players have noticed it, and that's why, they have come with aggression out there. So there's no hidden secret, and it's creating a lot of warfare as far as a common customer base is concerned. How is the shift in model then taking place? And I said that what has happened to most of these particular technologies that were introduced, some of the innovations in terms of odor absorption, health and hygiene, why is it that they don't take up completely? The consumer has had a very limited say, and that say has either been in terms of choosing color or asking a question, what's been the warranty of this particular paint? I think it's the contractors with no loyalty, okay, and the multi-dealer brand propositions, a dealer stocking multiple brands which make it as a commodity. I think paint companies have innovated through raw material suppliers who have been global raw material suppliers, wherein, there is an attempt promoted to explore it in paints, but that innovation to actually customize a raw material for Indian paint kind of scenario, I have not seen it happening. And I keep on talking to so many suppliers who keep to me that what's it that you're innovating for India? Knowing fully well that India is a dilution market, okay, why is it that, it does not work, and why is it that you just bring the raw materials the way it is? So therefore, paint has been under pressure as far as pricing margins is concerned. Adaptability to application practices has been so poor, it has taken decades to change over the exterior painting also from brush to a roller. Otherwise, people have been reluctant. It happened in the south, now it's happening pan-India. No to low mechanization. A lot of trip incentives have been promised to dealers on account of which, paint sales takes off. Now there has been some attempt in terms of introduction of interior designers, but this is only for the willing to pay customers somewhere in metros. Use of consultants, material choices, consumers are getting involved in the material choices as far as their home is concerned. And they are the design types and willing to pay customers. A lot of focus is now coming on to services, on-time job completion, education of the contractors improvement, and I think the Sector Skill Council is doing it. Many of the private enterprises, they are training painters so that, they can do the job more efficiently. They can teach them. The younger generation of the painters and contractors are more open. They are visiting different countries. They are also wanting to change. So that kind of a change is beginning to happen. And one-stop shop capability is something which is going to emerge as the need of the hour. Now, this is a very mixed model as far as some bit of change is concerned. But where is all this going to go in the future? I personally think it will have to get integrated like this, wherein the consumer will have to be the main focus. It will result into branded stores by dealers. Dealers will have to own the brand. Raw material suppliers will have to partner with the paint manufacturers as a partnership on a capsule basis, wherein all innovation happens within that particular capsule. Design consultation can be formalized, one-stop shop accountability, assurance on execution, can be the key, and partnerships, co-creating, which cannot be duplicated. So which means someone like one paint company chooses its partners, chooses its players to constantly cause innovation. Now these are not duplicatable, these are not crisscrossable. The other company chooses other set of players, and this is where even the role of raw material suppliers as to whom to partner with will become very critical. And I think since there are so many players, there will be a choice of partnerships to partner with somebody whom you can trust, somebody who can have the tolerance of the iteration within this, but remain within that to be a force to offer best offerings as far as consumer is concerned. So eventually paint and coatings is going to be dependent on 4 critical things, I think, as far as I am concerned. Lasting partnerships, something like trusting competence of each other, okay? And I am using the word trusting because you're not going to do it right first time. There's going to be certain tolerance. Are you willing to take that tolerance on board? Are you willing to have the patience to evolve them to certain global standards, because they are not going to hit global standards first time? Upgrading the standards to again global standards, delighting the customers constantly through products and services. So these are the 4 key things on which, if all of us partner in a very different way, India can be a formidable proposition as far as that 120,000 crore paint market is concerned. I'm just summarizing the evolution of technology, okay, prior to 1990, when the economic liberalization was not happening. VAM still dominated. There used to be products based on VAM. Subsequently in 91, when styrene was favorable as far as import is concerned, the technology shifted completely to use of styrene. And it remained on styrene acrylic and acrylics, opaque polymers for long time, long time. Okay, including today I will say that most of the bulk is still styrene acrylic. And the conundrum that there is no production of styrene in India. Okay, and the pricing pressures. Okay, look how we're locking ourselves up. Then in 2015, it migrated to acrylic silicones. Silicones bring all the cost, but they also bring the durability. Okay, but the price of acrylic silicone cannot be sustained. So you again innovate to downgrade the particular cost after introduction of acrylics. I remember having introduced a acrylic silicone from Japan. Okay, for use of a top-notch product. We couldn't sustain that. We had to localize. Okay, although the emulsion was of completely different quality. And then there is very keenness to, introduce polyurethane dispersion, redispersible polymers. People are setting up spray dryers. And you know that one company has also announced vinyl acetate ethylene production in India, which is like a big one. Production of RDPs, which gets used in cement putty, which is a large commodity. VAE, these are technologies which have been dominated by very strong forces, people from Europe and US. When India is trying to cut through and trying to put a mark that, look, we can do it, it's going to have a lot of difficulties, but it's a big one, guys. It's a big one. And multiple players ought to attempt this, because unless until we integrate this into an India-centric raw material base, paint prices are always going to be under pressure. I'm just towards the end of it, the last 2 slides perhaps. So we have to make this flip happen. Everything getting imported into India. Can we envision a scenario in the next 2 decades of something getting exported out of India too? And that's going to, happen with a communion. That's going to happen with a lot of academic partnership. That's going to happen with a lot of commitment to each other, lot of trusting of competence of each other. And I don't know, perhaps in next 1 or 2 decades, we could actually flip and be in a scenario in which I'm trying to show it to the right. Is this all false? Is this dream? I don't think so. Because there are some visionaries who have actually done this and shown it to us. I think in something like 2 decades. Vision to constantly excel, innovate with a purpose, leave a rich legacy of growth and leadership. And the best part is that the next generation continues to carry that particular torch, so as to emerge into a company which is the largest colorant producer, not just in India, in Asia. 60% of their production gets exported to something like 40 to 50 countries. That's the power of what a vision is, and I think you need multiple Mr. Bhumkars in various different sectors that we operate in, so as to integrate all together and cause the shift that we are talking about. And I think it is because of this reason we have to appreciate what Mr. Bhumkar has been from this point of view, that if somebody can create this, why can't others? And why can't we create multiple such people like that, so that India happens to be on a very strong footing as far as raw material base is concerned, and then we can play with raw materials, just convert into paint products, dream all the properties and features that we have. Thank you very much. I'm going to end it.
Thank you, sir. What an enriching and inspiring lecture that was. I'm sure you all agree with that. We can do better than that. Thank you. To bring this memorable evening to a close, I request Mr. Sanket Shinde, our Honorable Joint Secretary to the Color Society, to deliver a vote of thanks. Before that, I request all the dignitaries to be seated at the dais. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Ma'am, does anybody have any questions to ask? Over to you, sir.
Hey, Bhushan, wonderful lecture. Huh? Very good. One or two observations are there, and not a question actually. You said that the Indian latex paint prices are the lowest, that's what you said. Is it because you have not touched one subject? I try to link that prices with the DIY, that is do it yourself. Because see, Indian paint industry, if you see the per square feet cost, I think the paint cost is, I think 40%, 60% is the cost of the labor. So if you want to increase the profitability and the price of the latex paint, then we have to move towards do it yourself. Because the labor cost is increasingly going to go up. It will not come down. Because as the country grows in economy, GDP grows, the prices of skilled labor will always go up.
Sure,
Correct?
sure. No, it differs actually in wood finishes. The material to labor cost is quite different. It's as high as even 65% of the labor cost. As far as decorative is concerned, it could be somewhere around 40-60 or somewhere close to 50-50. DIY, I have given it a thought whether is DIY going to come into picture in one decade. We are so used to services. You take the food sector, you take any sector. We're not wanting to do it yourself, we're just wanting to get served. So to that extent, I don't know whether DIY as a trend is going to come in and whether DIY as a strategy of no dilution and application by yourself is going to cut the cost. I think it is very essential to focus on the cost of the commodity per se, which constitutes 60 to 70% and which constitutes all the raw materials. So unless until we target that and make that competitive, merely changing an application is not going to, result into a cost elevation whatsoever, is the thought that I have.
No, RMC, I agree, but when we say that paint is always a per square feet cost. Painter, whoever is their contractor, he always quotes a per square feet cost.
Yeah.
He is not bothered about the 4-liter
Sure.
paint cost.
Sure.
So from that point of view, I am feeling.
Yeah. But then even the same painter has not accepted products with lower dilution. So you take premium products, by default there is a 40 to 50% dilution. You take low end of the products, by default there is a 50 to 60% dilution. A painter is so used to a psychology of diluting because it's studied in his mind that dilution creates coverage. But he also does not recognize the fact that dilution causes lower and lower film thicknesses. And lower film thicknesses is going to have an impact on performance, howsoever functional properties and durability are going to deliver. So it has to come out of cost, it has to come out of change in painting practices. DIY is the ultimate one which can happen with no dilution, but there is going to be a learning curve out there. I think we need to focus on raw material cost.
So since you are on raw material cost, think for a moment you are not working for Asian Paint. My question is like, so in this war of these Asian Paints and Birla, actually I find there is that technology what you have shown, vinyl acetylene. Is it significantly going to change the fortunes of Asian Paint in terms of raw material costing?
I didn't say that war is basically between Asian Paints and Opus, that you concluded, and I said that this is the slide. So
That is there in everybody's mind.
maybe that's there in everybody's mind. But is it going to change the game completely? Now we know that VAE offers certain distinct advantages. You take a emulsion paint formulated with VAE in white vis-a-vis styrene acrylic. There is a distinct advantage of dispersion and hiding. You're in a position to reduce TiO2. You can actually see this. Now, is that the game changer? May not be. But is it something new? For sure it is something new. And does it have the potential to get democratized? For sure, yes. We've been importing, Dr. Samant, significant quantities of VAE into the country. I think people like Celanis and all, they have been supplying. They have not been supplying just to Asian Paints. They have been supplying to many other small scale players also. Now, again that same import dependency, again that same conundrum of look, import prices, price fluctuation to a beautiful technology. It's audacious. I understand it's audacious and only time will tell us. But possibly if we can successful in that, India gets on the map as far as VAE production is concerned. Imagine usage of a gaseous monomer to manufacture a polymer that you use in paint and coatings is a big one. Lot of steps out there, lot of steps. So when you take those distinct efforts, there is that much more urge to make it a success.
When you said gaseous monomer, no, actually Asian Paint was the first one in India to utilize gaseous monomer, butadiene, and you had Asian Paint Apcotex started
Yes.
way back in 1982 with a
Yes.
gaseous monomer. So you have a good history about it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dr. Rengachari, sure.
Yeah, sir, quickly I will ask you. First of all, thank you very much for this very informative lecture. I'm talking about the decorative architectural paints, particularly changing substrates. That's one aspect, and also changing the consumer psychology. Now, changing substrate meaning I can see in the city area a lot of the skyscraper buildings. They are outside made up of this glass cladding, and there is no civil work there. So how is that? I mean, is the paint industry looking at this as a threat or as an opportunity?
No, Amol, it is a threat. It is definitely a
It
threat.
is definitely a threat. And then how should we address it? That's one question. Second question is that still in India, for the decorative paints, marriages is one of the key drivers for selling paint in India, and almost I think 1 crore marriages happen every year, and that's the biggest driver for selling the paint. Now the shift is changing, is that people are going more for the destination wedding, and they are going out of their houses for the weddings, and that is in fact creating a barrier for selling paint more for the marriages.
Sure.
So, I mean, for the future, next decade, how it would be?
No, one can't be dependent on one driver called weddings. That during weddings, there is a festive season. I know for Kerala, it happens in every season that the entire pavements in Kerala, they get painted every year. That's something which is a seasonal pride that they have. And coming to exterior glass facades, that has been a threat. I said about aluminum cladding as well as glass. One can only innovate out there, because films has been one of the answer as far as even automotive is concerned, to give that heat reduction, to give dust repellent properties. Glass also, there has been significant steps being taken to coat glass from the exteriors. Okay, and coating glass on the exterior without losing transparency, and yet having the applicability of the product either in terms of spraying or brushability, rollability, is something which people have been attempting. But you can definitely complement a surface which is lost by actually providing certain value on that particular surface, which the glass company cannot bring about. And that's being one of the attempts which is being made very distinctly. Has there been significant success out there? No. But have people in China done that successfully? Definitely yes. People in China do have certain products at a nano scale also by which they can coat exterior glass facades. Only way to win over lost share of surface is to innovate in that area and bring certain added value at low cost. That way, coatings. Otherwise, films will take over. There are films which are there in the taking, which can be applied on glass.
So also the films for the walls also, for interior.
So also the films for the walls. And I think the demand for paint, whether it's reasonably dependent on marriages and all, these are good things to cite. Okay, these are good excuses to give at the end of the year that there was a short Diwali or there was a seasonality which was missing. I think the demand as far as repainting is concerned is going to remain constant. Okay, the new rises, the new construction is going to have limited opportunity depending on how the growth is. But repainting is a constant predictable cycle, and a large part of paint comes from repainting. That's going to be the need. Yes, whether high rises are going to change the game, definitely yes, because high rises are also demanding higher durability and warranties. So typically painting cycle which had been 6 to 7 years are now getting converted into something like 14 to 15 years. So that much more, you're actually postponing even the repainting cycle. So it's going to have an impact, definitely going to have an impact.
So thank you so much. It was really a bravo lecture. Very, very insightful. One more round of applause, please. Truly very, very comprehensive, in detail, in depth, and you really painted the landscape beautifully with a variety of colors and the different textures, and you really brought in those perspectives. Thank you very much for that. And I think your second last slide with the flags where the arrows are coming in, and really I have truly believed this for a long time, and in fact in every forum of the industry I have always said Indian paint industry is too inward looking. The world is a market. Why don't we, with the immense capability that we have in our country, why doesn't any company look outwards and really try to capture the global markets? You know, we can do it, but I don't know why the mindset is not there. And that is where, you know, we in our company, we really truly stand on the shores of the country and look outward, and really we feel we are in a global playing field. You know, India today with so many strengths, we can do. There is nothing that Indians cannot do. You know, with the resources that we have, with the technological capability that we have, with the people skills that we possess, and then with the entrepreneurial spirit of the Indian industry. Truly, there is nothing to stop us, and it's a great playing field. And coming to your DIY thing, I think the DIY, I think it will probably jump one generation. So instead of going from having contractors and painters painting it, and the DIY, something much simpler should emerge, because even in DIY, the process per se remains the same. Whether you have a contractor or a painter painting it, or you do it yourself. Process of painting will get innovated over a period of time, and instead of having liquid paint which is produced in factories, you have latex films. And it is something like what you have, you know, in this eye care space. There is this company which has come where in 2.5 hours your glasses leave their factories, and the way that they keep their warehouses and their supply chains, something like that. The color that you choose will get made, and within 24 hours in rolls, you know, latex rolls, and it just comes and you stick it there. The surface preparation doesn't matter, you know, nothing really matters. That would be a real innovation.
That would be
you know, and then addition of water, which we always say adds to the freight costs and things like that, and then the precision of diluting, precision of the finish, all of this stuff is going to go away, and you jump generations into technology. I think that is a more likely scenario which should emerge. So thank you once again.
No, thanks for this kind words, Priyan, because you mentioned, look how visionaries they think, and why they remain visionaries, and why they are not duplicatable assets, and why we look up to them. I think it was 1992, I was just a senior chemist at that time. And my general manager, Dr. Tirodkar, at that time said that, look, there is 75th celebration of our chairman, C.H. Choksi. And there is a message from him that he doesn't want to see the hierarchy. He wants anybody who's inducted into the organization into that Taj rooftop terrace. And there is one statement that he made which floored me. Okay. He said, can we envision paint in a blister pack like pharmaceuticals? Okay, will paint come to that, so that you admit certain capsule in a bowl of paint, you stir it and you apply paint? That's DIY.
We have looked at blister packs for colored fiber,
which is so wonderful. Just the magnitude of disruption that it causes as far as packaging is concerned, and the way the complete paint is marked. That man had the vision to think about it in 1992. And in 2025, we still don't take strides. And if you have taken stride, maybe that's a way to go. So inspiring, so inspiring. I was just floored. And even today when I think, still getting floored with that thought. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Bhushan. It's a very wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Beautifully, you have covered all aspects of the entire fraternity of paint industry. Well, as a pigment man, I think people are sitting from Voxco Pigments, Mr. G.B. Singh and Colorants people also. One particular slide, I just wanted to have your clarification. You said that certain raw materials and China, it is never discovered or never done in any parts of the world. That is the real earth, the color, the pigment from the real earth in China. You mentioned in one of the slides. And in another slide, you also said that in India, we do have real earth. I just wanted to understand and just clarification. So, can you please expand on that?
So this was a point made by Professor Sharma, that he felt that in the area of pigments, rare earths is one of the most sustainable technology. Okay. It does not involve any synthesis, and you're actually using just like an extender, a rare earth, which is a mine kind of a thing, and converting into beautiful color and pigmentary properties. He was expecting that to be a sustainable technology, and only one company in the world, does that in China. which is actually making pigments using rare earths.
Okay. Can you name that company?
I don't know the name of the company. It's a Chinese company. You can Google it out.
Okay, 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 fine.
But if you Google out again, China has got the highest deposits of rare earths,
There is. Okay.
which they have at least taken strides in terms of converting it.
Okay.
He was expecting to see more out of it, that if somebody could do it in the world, why can't we? Because even we have got certain deposits of rare earths
Okay.
to be converted into opportunities as far as pigment is concerned.
I think our earth in India is more richer than any part of the world.
And perhaps it's the ochres, it's the browns,
Okay.
I don't know what, but if they are rare earth synthesized, they could result into completely different properties and completely different colors, which are more sustainable.
Like the Ajanta caves, the painting, what is there in the colors, they have never faded for decades.
Yeah, something like that, but we need to really integrate these thoughts with respect to the resources that we have and convert them into formidable technologies. Now that's going to call in for a lot of guts. That's going to call in for a lot of focus from off business, actually investing in R&D in which you're not expecting immediately returns. The business has to sustain, but this is something which intersects itself and springs at a time in which you really need it and can surprise it.
Appreciate the insight.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, thank you, Bhushan sir. Respected dignitaries, today's guest speaker, Shri Bhushan Pradhan sir, past president, members and well-wishers of the Color Society. It is my honor and privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks on behalf of the Color Society at the conclusion of the late Shri C.J. Bhumkar Memorial Lecture. First and foremost, I express my sincere gratitude to Shri Bhushan Pradhan sir for delivering such an insightful and provoking lecture on changing landscape in Indian paint industry, a technology perspective and challenges. Your deep industry knowledge and valuable insight have truly enriched us and all. And we deeply appreciate your time and efforts. A special thanks to Miss Priya Bhumkar for gracing this occasion with her presence. Your support and association with the Color Society means a lot to us, and we are honored to have you with us today. I would also like to extend my sincere appreciation to Dr. Annaga Sabnis, HOD of Department Polymer and Surface Engineering, ICT Mumbai, and Professor A.B. Pandit, Director of Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai, for graciously allowing us to host this prestigious lecture at ICT Mumbai. We are truly grateful for your support and providing us with this esteemed platform to bring together industry professionals and academia. A heartfelt thanks to all our past presidents whose vision and leadership have played a crucial role in shaping the Color Society into what it is today. Your continuous guidance and encouragement inspire us to take our initiative forwards. To all our members, well-wishers and industry professionals, your presence here today is a testament to our commitment to knowledge sharing and professional growth. Your participation makes events like these more meaningful and impactful. Last but not at the least, I would like to acknowledge the efforts of the Color Society Managing Committee, our office bearer, who work for tirelessly behind the scenes to make this event a resounding success. Your dedication and teamwork are truly commendable. With that, I once again express my deepest gratitude to everyone who made this event possible. Let's continue to collaborate, learn, and contribute towards the growth and advancement of our industry. Now I request Shri Shivaji Durgavle, our President, to present memento to Shri Bhushan Pradhan sir. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at our future events. Thank you all. Now I request the managing committee member to come forward for a group photo.